Welcome to a new Daily Top Askreddit video. Today's topic.
People of Reddit, what's the most desperate thing you've ever done for money? I participated in a food study where I couldn't eat for a day before. Arrived at the lab crazy early in the morning. Had a tube put down my throat. And lay there for 6 hours as they pumped liquids into and out of my stomach. After the first 2 hours I begged them to at least turn on the TV. But they would only let me watch PBS so I couldn't accidentally see any commercials about food. It wasn't fun, but the pay was decent and they served me a steak dinner afterward. I sold my body to a drug study for 3 weeks in 1991. We took a dose of some antibiotic every day and had blood drawn throughout the day. Every day. Pay was $2,000, which was sweet for 1991. Being in the drug testing facility for 3 weeks was interesting. I participate in clinical studies. Just ones that let me go home lol. Just finished my second one. Kinda weird to get laid for free health info and to take stuff that can potentially help or harm me. But overall have had a positive experience and hopefully this leads to helping more people. Sleeping. Random doctor sneaks in and fingers your butthole. Hey, what the fuck? You sold it, bro. No going back now. Ah geez, ya got me there. I'm Bob BTW. I participated in some market research for a new beer. Sounded great at the time. I get paid to drink beer. Single quote. Anyway, it was a bunch of different beers in small plastic cups, all of which started out tasting like the strainings of the devil's underpants and progressively got worse. They kept bringing more out until one guy cracked, swiped all his beers off the table and stormed out yelling, "I wouldn't even give this shit to my dog." Single quote. I still don't know if it was market research or some bizarre psychological experiment. If it was a psychological experiment and they didn't debrief you about the actual purpose afterwards, that goes against the ethical guidelines. At least in the US. I drunk beer in market research before too. It was different versions of a new Bud Light though. How many in did you get before you swiped them all off the table and screamed that you wouldn't serve it to your dog? Once when unemployed, I bought a bunch of king-size candy at Costco. And went door to door selling it, saying it was a fundraiser for a church youth group. Made a good profit and was able to pay rent that month. My husband's grandma used to go to Sam's Club and buy candy in bulk, which she would then sell it to the neighbors. They were in the inner city and it was a food desert. She also sold drugs. Yeah, that's the candy lady over there. Why do they call her that? Well, because she goes to Sam's Club and buys bulk candy and then resales it to make rent. Oh cool. Yeah, she also sells crack too, if you need it. Wait, what? Quote. A friend of mine used to buy water bottles in bulk and then sell them at anime conventions to cover his entry. Some enterprising kids do that at various fairs our town puts on. There will be food trucks selling water for $1 or even $2 a bottle. But also some kids here and they're selling bottled water out of a cooler for 50 cents. A case of 24 usually costs like $3 or $4 at the grocery store around here. I used to pose naked for art classes while I was an undergrad. Pay was pretty good, about 5 times minimum wage. One grad student who was a good artist but kind of odd asked if I would do a private session of a few hours. I agreed as I was desperate for money. I figured that I had just been hired for sex. I was a bit conflicted but then just figured why not. I showed up cleaned and prepped and dressed to look good, and it turned out that the artist really did want me to pose. During the whole thing they were polite but very specific on poses, and it was actually a bit challenging. They were so intense. While not particularly good looking, the talent and effort was kind of a turn on. By the end I was half hoping it would turn into sex and they would keep telling me how to pose, what to do, etc. We went over the time but the artist was nice and grateful and paid extra. So I guess that I learned I would be willing to have sex for money in some situations. Haha. I love this train of thought. I think I just got solicited. Oh well, gotta pay rent. Huh. I guess I really am just doing art? Damn. I wish they would proposition me. This is when they found out they had a control kink and wanted the artist to take charge. As a former art major, this is my fantasy. The having money part, I mean. This turned out surprisingly wholesome. Many years ago, when I was a child and my mother and I were facing homelessness, we'd spend the nights at various places, like laundromats or hospitals. One night when we were really hungry, she had me dive into the wishing well to collect quarters to use for the vending machine. It's one of those surreal memories that stuck with me. Edit. Dang. Thanks for all the kind words, everyone. I am, thankfully and fortunately, in a much better place in my life now. My mother, bless her heart, passed away a few years after the event in question. We had a complicated relationship because of how young I was. But I don't hold anything against her as an adult. Life just deals people a rough hand sometimes. I certainly don't know what I would have done better if I were in her shoes. If I tossed money in a wishing well and a starving kid fished it out, I would consider it money well spent. Do what you need to. I have lots of memories of dumpster diving for presents during the holiday season. At work recently, in an effort to make remote work more bearable, my team asked a question about what is a holiday memory that is most distinct in your mind. So many people had these wonderful memories of playing in the snow or cooking something with their family or going on vacation to this place or that place. So many people had these descriptions of middle-class life because I'm in a white-collar profession that is dominated almost exclusively by middle-class white women. I didn't feel comfortable sharing my experience of digging through dumpsters for toys for my siblings, my parents, as a holiday memory. I couldn't share that the most memorable thing that comes to my mind when I think of the holidays is when my family procured a Costco-size package of breath mints. And we ate those non-stop for 4 weeks until I got an unbearable stomachache. And what I remember most about that is that I can't eat breath mints anymore because the smell of them makes me sick. But that is not the type of memory one can share with their coworkers. If they middle-class white women and expect to walk out of that transaction the same person. So I don't share that part of me with people that I spend a good amount of my day. It's all a long-winded way of saying, thank you for sharing this part of you with strangers on the internet. It feels good to not feel alone. I hope you know that you are not alone also. I've seen kids splashing around in a mall fountain collecting the coins people tossed in. No one seemed to care. The kids were really excited they found money and were getting their pants wet, so I am guessing their parents were off trying on clothes or something. My point is, if you do, I wouldn't be bad about it. The coins have to be cleaned out every so often to keep fountains from becoming a big sluggy mess.